All right, welcome to day one of our education series. Again, we're going to be taking this education series from a little bit of a different spin. It's from a designing standpoint, not necessarily just from a product standpoint, but we will go through some of the typical products that we would see in education planning. So let's get right to it today. This out of the way. Okay. As always, nothing that we ever say is necessarily particular to you or could be taken as legal or accounting advice. Everything is always tailored to each situation. So put the disclaimer out there. First conversation is, why do we even save for our kids' education? I like to talk first and foremost as to why we put money aside. Because if we're not going to spend every dollar of our paycheck to go to Disney and vacations and eating out and those type of things, then there has to be a really good reason. And there has to be a good why and a heart behind it. So here's some of the reasons as to why we typically save for education, okay? Obviously, there's a sense of pride to be able to provide an education for our children. It's an idea of, as a parent, that we've kind of arrived at that place where we can provide that. We know that education is expensive, and of course, we want them to get ahead. And we don't want to be caught with an education expense later and all of a sudden be scrambling when they're 18 and they've decided to go to some crazy expensive college. You also don't want them to have student loans. Well, I don't think that's necessarily the end of the world. We have this association that our generation, our 30s and our 40s, a lot of people graduated with big student loans, and they don't necessarily want to put that labor on their children. And they want them to be able to pursue their dreams. I think that's just any parent's desire for their kids. But with that, we have to understand what the landscape of the education world is and how we can strategically use our money to maybe do more than one thing. There's two theories for any type of savings goal. Okay, there's product-based and there's strategy-based. So in a product-based situation, for instance, if you had any type of RESP in a market-based situation right now and your kid was going to school next year, you may be in a little bit of a pickle because your funds might have gone down significantly and therefore your account balance when you need the money next year. So there's always this concern in a product-based strategy as to what if the market underperforms? Then what if my child doesn't go to university? Not because they're slackers, okay? But what if they're entrepreneurs? What if they've got a wonderful business mindset, or they have other opportunities that we just didn't see because 18 years from now is a long time? What if they don't qualify for aid or student loans? What if you personally, mom or dad, become disabled and you can't fund the education savings plan? Have you thought about that? Because right now, it's in a product-based situation. You're dependent on the fact that you have the income to put into that. And how much will education cost in the future? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And finally, listen, resources are finite. And there's only a certain amount to go around. So we have to also consider, will it affect your financial future going forward? To give you an example, when our kids are going to school and they're gone to do their higher learning and they're off and they're on their own, your financial life hasn't ended. Theirs has just begun, let's be honest, but you might actually just be right in the middle of it. So how is saving for your children's education and providing that lump sum for them at that time affecting your own financial future? Something also to consider. Here are some quick facts. 57% of Canadians aged 25 to 65 have completed their college or university degree. It's the highest among the developed countries. So listen, we feel like education is important. We understand the value in it. Economic growth and replacement needs are expected to create 6.3 million new jobs by 2026. That's great. There's going to be a workforce. And 55% of these jobs will require university or college education. So again, there is a desire and there is a need for this education purpose. Excuse me. A few other quick facts. The cost of college and university education continues to increase. Now, in 2018 to 2019, undergraduate tuition increased by 3.3% over the previous year. Now, that's only part of the cost too, right? Other compulsory fees, all others, things like the housing, the meal plans, the books, all that kind of stuff also increased. These increases continue to outpace inflation, okay? So this is also a real desire for people when they're looking at saving for education as to what type of rate of return they're going to get if these education costs continue to increase. However, we also need to consider that if we're going to put money aside, does that money translate into a higher earnings and higher income for our kids in a job that hopefully they enjoy and they don't find as an actual chore, but as a career. Men, in particular, in skilled trades, earn 7% more than men with college diplomas and only 11% less than men with a bachelor's degree. And skills trades are usually done by apprentices, usually paid apprentices. They don't require a very large lump sum out for a university education. Women are a little bit different though. Women earn up to 80% more than women with a bachelor's degree earn up to 80% more than those with a college diploma, high school, or trades education. Obviously, just because skills trades is still very much of a man-dominated industry, and that's perfectly okay, but we need to understand the needs for our sons and our daughters might be different. This kind of blew my mind when I found this fact out, okay? Almost 30% of women with a degree in some field of study are underemployed. What this means is that someone may have gone and gotten a university degree in humanities, but they're working at some place much lower unemployed. They're underemployed to what their education standards would be. You see this all the time. You see people with PhDs in humanities and arts and these type of things, and they can't find paying jobs in those fields. So they're working in customer service or jobs like that. It still requires a skill set, but certainly didn't require that 4-year degree. Okay? Men, it's 35%. And I think a lot of that is because when someone goes to college, a lot of times they go into a more, they can easily go into a more generals. And when you go into generals, a lot of times they're in the arts and the socials and the humanities, and it's not a bad thing. But until they specialize, those chosen degree programs as it stands right now, people that finish those degree programs aren't finding jobs that satisfy the income need, okay? So here's the deal. At the end of the day, Canadians value a college education or university education, and it's costly. And your children will be economically successful without a college university degree. It's possible. So it's also considering, again, boys versus girls, or our sons versus their daughters may have different needs. And many people with college university degrees are working in jobs that do not require more than a high school diploma. We need to be strategic about how we plan for our children's education, okay? One last point I want to leave you with today for day one. Think about it. If you have someone in their 20s right now who's in their second year of university, as an example, and their parents started saving for them 20 years ago, right from day one, but they had no idea that 20 years down the road, they actually may have wanted to have savings for a down payment for their son or daughter versus education. Question to you, post below, do you think it's easier to go out and get a student loan these days, or student line of credit for the bank, or some kind of financing, which is tax deductible, than it is to find a cash down payment for a starter home that starts at $500,000 these days? I'll leave it to you. All I'm saying is that over an 18, 20-year period, we don't know what the dynamic, we don't know what the landscape of the finances or the economics will be. So we need to plan accordingly, okay? Tomorrow, day 2, we're going to review the traditional approaches. So I'm going to go through some product information and give it a sense as to what kind of the traditional options are out there to give you the ins and outs of how those work. Stay tuned to us tomorrow. Like this video, share it around. We will be back tomorrow for day 2. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.